Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the election of 1992. See, going into 1992, early on, it looked like George Herbert Walker Bush was going to have a slam dunk re-election. If you remember from our last lecture, coming out of the Persian Gulf War against Iraq in 1991, Bush had almost a 90% approval rating, which means a lot of Democrats looked at the situation and said, he's unbeatable. I'm not going to run. So a lot of top-tier Democrats set out the 92 election, which, as we'll see here in just a minute, opens the door for a completely unlikely candidate to become the Democrat nominee in 1992. But as we progress into 1992, America's economy hits a rocky time period. We go into a recession. And that recession starts to whittle away at the popularity of George Herbert Walker Bush. Not only that, there is a revolt inside the Republican Party, a minor one, but nevertheless worth talking about, among some economic conservatives who are upset with George Herbert Walker Bush, and there will even be a challenge inside Republican primaries by the Republican from the Nixon administration, Mr. Pat Buchanan. Also, back in 1988, Bush had said while he was running for president, he said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." But the problem is, throughout his 4 years as president, in order to get some things done, he did strike a deal with the Democrats, which led to some small tax raises. So there was a revolt among fiscal conservatives about that. So going into 1992, as the election approaches, Bush is damaged. I mean, this man who had been at the pinnacle of political popularity has been brought down to a very dangerous state, but he can still win. Because on the Democrat side, all the top-tier Democrats staying out of the race because of Bush's initial popularity, it opens the door for a completely unexpected, as we said earlier, candidate, the governor of Arkansas, by the name of William Jefferson Clinton. Yes, that is Bill Clinton. Nobody in a million years would have guessed Bill Clinton to be the Democrat nominee in 1992, especially after some serious allegations, which turned out to be quite true, came his way that seemed to rock the boat a little bit of his campaign. But Bill Clinton might be the greatest politician of the 20th century. And what I mean by that is this. Bill Clinton could deliver a speech. Bill Clinton could connect with people and make them feel like he understood them in a way in which most presidents and presidential candidates could not throughout the 20th century. Now, that'll be key. But there's something else to keep in mind. 1992 was a three-man race. Yes, you have George Herbert Walker Bush for the Republicans up for re-election. You got Bill Clinton for the Democrats. He's going to try to knock off George Herbert Walker Bush. But there's an independent, a man by the name of Ross Perot, a billionaire from Texas, who's concerned about the deficit and America's spending. He is going to run and actually almost get 20 million votes in the United States of America's popular vote in the 1992 election. One of the most successful third-party candidates ever in American history. So as we enter into the debates, there will be three men on the stage: Perot, Clinton, and Bush. Now, the thing about George Herbert Walker Bush is he's a throwback. Bush is from an era when you didn't brag about yourself, that World War II generation, which is a major hindrance when you're running for re-election. Instead of touting some of the things that he had done well, Bush kind of had that laid-back demeanor. And at the same time, old William Jefferson Bill Clinton was out there just attacking the campaign trail. And in one of the debates, there's a clear turning point in the 1992 election. President Bush is on stage with Bill Clinton and Ross Perot, for that matter. And there's questions coming from the audience. And at one point, Bush looks at his watch to see what time it is, which kind of led the audience to think, does he really care? And yet, Bill Clinton at this moment, somebody asked a question about the economy, and Bill Clinton looked at the person and said, "I feel your pain." And that Bill Clinton connection resonated with American voters. But going into Election Day, George H.W. Bush will lose. He will not be reelected. This man who is arguably, and you can take away the arguably for that matter, the most qualified man to ever be president, with his massive resume of service to the United States of America, will lose in 1992 to Bill Clinton. who had a scandal-ridden campaign, but also ran a magnificent campaign that focused on the economy. Now, another reason why Bush lost is because, like I said earlier, Ross Perot took away about almost 20 million votes from fiscal conservatives that otherwise would have went to George Bush. And in one of the strangest elections in American history, Bill Clinton wins in 1992 and doesn't crack 50% of the popular vote. He gets about 43% of the popular vote, but he does win a clear, decisive victory over Bush and Ross Perot. Now, almost immediately, the economy starts to turn around right after the election. And there's this massive campaign, if you will, bumper stickers, everything else that says, "Don't blame me, I voted for Bush." So there's a small sense of regret that is showing up in the polling and different things that Bush didn't win re-election. But Bill Clinton, we all know the story of Bill Clinton going into the 90s. But one thing about Bill Clinton is he is going to preside over one of the largest economic booms in American history. So later we'll talk about the Clinton presidency and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there's a lot to unpack there. It is still being sorted through by historians. But the thing I want to leave you with today is you never know what's going to happen in an election. In 1991, Bush's election looked like a slam dunk. Early in 1992, Bill Clinton's campaign looked dead in the water. But by the end of 1992, William Jefferson Clinton is the president-elect, and George Herbert Walker Bush is being, well, for lack of a better term, kicked out of the White House. But one last thing. Bush does something very admirable. Bush says, well, I lost, but in order to keep the country rolling along, I am going to work hand in hand, side by side with Bill Clinton to make for sure that this transfer of power is smooth and as, patriotic as can be. So that concludes the George Herbert Walker Bush presidency. It's short, but it's significant. So until next time, my fellow Americans, have a great day.